It's time to grill up another burger, but I'm not just going to do an ordinary hamburger today out on the grill. I'm going to kick it up a notch because I'm going to be making a barbecue pulled beef burger. So there's going to be two components to this burger today. The simplest is going to be the hamburger patty. I'm going to be using some grass-fed beef for that, but we'll get to that later. First, we have to make some pulled beef, and for that we're going to be using a chuck roast today, and we're going to be smoking that on the Weber Kettle. So to get started, I have to get the rub ready. I'm starting with 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 2 teaspoons of cracked black pepper, a teaspoon of kosher salt, a teaspoon of paprika, and a teaspoon of granulated garlic. Just gonna shake this and mix this up. That's our rub. Let's get that chuck roast out here. So here is our chuck roast. This is about a 3-pound chuck roast. We're just gonna go ahead and get this rubbed up. Get a good coating of seasoning on here. Make sure we get the edges. So this is looking good. Let's get it out to the Weber Kettle. All right, the kettle's coming up to temp. Let me show you how I have it set up. I've got the slow and sear in the Weber Kettle today, and as you can see, I have it loaded up, full load of briquettes. I have foil on one side of the kettle to catch any excessive dripping, and I have my ambient temperature probe. So let's go ahead and get this chuck roast on. Get my internal meat temperature probe in here, and we're showing an internal meat temperature of 38.8. Perfect, came out of the refrigerator just a little bit ago. Let's go ahead and get some wood on so we can make some smoke. I'm gonna be using some post oak today for smoke for this chuck roast. All right, we are making smoke. Our chuck roast is on. Let's get the lid on the kettle and start cooking this chuck roast. The temperature I'm shooting for today on the kettle is somewhere in the 250 to 275 range. Goes a little higher, drops a little lower, no problem. We'll dial it in there. The ultimate internal temperature of this chuck roast is gonna be probably above 200 degrees internal. At about 160 degrees, we're gonna wrap it. That's when it's getting close to the stall or already in the stall. But really, it's gonna be when it is pull apart tender. That will tell us when it's done. So I'll bring you back in a bit when we check it or when we're close to that 160. All right, our chuck roast has been going for about 2 hours now. We're at 152 internal. Let's take a look and see how we're doing. That's looking really good. A lot of moisture in there. We don't have to even consider spritzing at this point. Starting to develop some bark on the edges, but so much moisture in there that we're not getting a lot of development on top of the chuck roast. We'll probably get a little bit more, but a lot of moisture in the air today. We had rain and everything, so we'll see. But it's gonna be pulled, so if we don't get that full all over bark coverage, I'm not too concerned with that. We still have a little bit of life left in that piece of post oak, but I'm gonna go ahead and add a fresh one right now. Want to keep the smoke rolling for this chuck roast. All right, let's go ahead and get our lid back on and keep this chuck roast smoking. All right, we're about 3 hours into this, and as you can see, in that last hour, we've moved maybe a degree. It went up to 154, came back down, so we're in the stall. It's time to take this chuck roast, wrap it in foil with a little bit of moisture, and get it moving along. We've had some nice color develop in the last hour. A little bit more bark development, but not a lot. It's still a lot of moisture in here, as you can see. So I'm going to temporarily remove my temperature probe. We're going to wrap this chuck roast. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of moisture here. This is a 2-to-1 mixture of water to Jack Daniels. Just going to give it a spray in the foil. There we go. Now, if I remember correctly, my temperature probe was over here, so we'll see if we can get close to the same spot when we get it back on the kettle. Let's see how close I can get with my probe here. All right, we're showing 151.8. That's pretty close to that 152-ish we were at. So let's go ahead and get the lid back on and finish cooking this chuck roast. All right, we are just a little over 4 hours in now, and as you can see, our kettle temp is up to 333. I just let it rock. I opened the vents, and our internal temperature on the chuck roast is 202.5, so We're in a tender zone. We just need to see how tender we are. So let's give that a look. I'm gonna remove my temperature probe again. I'm just gonna open this up right on here. So in case we need to wrap it, we can just wrap it right back up. First thing I want to do is just give it a little bit of a probe test. It's feeling pretty tender. Little bit of deep resistance right there, not much though. But we're looking good. Let me check temperatures here. That's 208, 207. Like I said, we are in the tender zone. Now I just want to do a fork test and see, is it twisting easily? That's twisting pretty, yeah. Yeah, we're twisting pretty easily here. This is good. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna wrap it back up tight. I'm actually gonna add another layer of foil, and it's gonna rest for about 45 minutes to an hour, completely wrapped up, and just continue to tenderize. I'm gonna get this wrapped up in another layer of foil, and I'll see you inside. All right, here is our smoked chuck roast. It's been resting for about 45 minutes. And when I took it off, as I mentioned, the temperature range was anywhere from 203 to 208. So let's go ahead, start breaking this down. I just want to kind of get in there and start pulling. And as you can see, it's coming apart nicely here. You can see here, we did get a nice little smoke ring. The Weber Kettle, I find you do get a good smoke ring when you're cooking chuck roasts. Get in here, pull this beef apart. No, I'm not going to sneak a taste yet. Nice and tender here, nice and juicy too. So I'm going to go ahead and finish breaking this down and pulling this chuck roast. Then I'm going to cover it and I'm going to go out to the grill, cook up a burger. Because remember, we're going to put this on top of that burger. All right, so with our burger done, what I want to do now is I want to add a little bit of barbecue sauce to this pulled beef. I set this aside because this is going to be the topping on our burger. The sauce I'm going to be using today is Bob's Smokin' Southern Barbecue. It's their spicy dipping and barbecue sauce. Go ahead and put some in here. And we're just going to mix this all together in here. This is a beef on beef burger. That looks good. Let's build this burger. First thing I want to do is I've got my toasted bottom of my onion bun here. I'm going to put our nice grass-fed beef patty. Then we're just going to put a nice little helping of this pulled barbecue beef on top. If you've ever had a brisket burger at a restaurant where they make a hamburger and top it with brisket, this is a little similar to that. And I'm not going to put a lot of stuff on this because this is what I want for flavor, but I am going to add one of my favorite toppings for burgers, and that's some sliced pepperoncinis. A little bit of bite to these. Just like that. We top it, we're ready, it's time to taste. All right, here we go. The barbecued pulled beef burger. I have that grass-fed beef patty cooked to medium rare, which is the way I like it. Cook it to your own desired level of doneness, but this just looks terrific with that pulled beef on top. Here we go. Oh man, I wouldn't use the word decadent to describe this because really it's just beef on top of beef with some pepperoncinis and some barbecue sauce, but it is rich in flavor. You are not going to go hungry eating this. Nice little bite from those pepperoncinis, and that Bob's Smokin' Southern Barbecue sauce really goes well with that pulled beef. I know some people don't like to put sauce on their pulled beef. They'll just leave it in the juices, and that's fine. But I like a good sauce on pulled beef. I think it really does add something. So if you're taking a chuck roast and making pulled beef, nothing wrong with just taking that, making the sandwich out of that, putting it on some toasted buns, maybe with some sauce. But if you really want to up it another level, top a burger with it, it's out of this world. Oh yeah.